All right, we're live.
All
Hey,
right.
everybody
Hey,
out there in YouTube land.
how y'all
All
guys
right.
doing? This is JT and Lady C. You know, it's
And
good to be back.
Ephraim.
And our friend Ephraim. That's it. Look, we have it's been a minute, but this was a subject that we definitely had to address. And we weren't going to do a live stream, but this is something we thought that people needed to be able to share, talk about, and as we observe what is happening. As I was telling Lady C earlier, we've seen in the last many months a lot of changes in the organization, a lot of changes, but none quite like this. And the reason why is because it's a different type of change. You see, all the other changes are for all practical purposes Mickey Mouse changes. Now, a brother don't have to wear a tie because it's 105 degrees outside, or a sister can wear a pair of pants because it's freezing outside, or the clinking of the glasses. These are just Mickey Mouse window dressing. But this change is different. And the reason why is because people lost their lives. And but more than that, for me and for Lady C, both of us, this is personal. You see, my baby brother almost passed away because of this teaching. When he was born with what a condition that's known as jaundice. His eyes were turning yellow like a banana. And the local doctor, because we live where my folks live, they live out in the country. Now, I mean out in the country. When you cut the lights off at night, there is no street lights. And so the doctor told her, you're going to have to take your son to Raleigh. It's a 2-hour drive. And so my mom, she called the elders to let them know that the doctor told her that my brother would need to have a transfusion, new fresh blood. And they asked us, could you just hold on for a moment? We'll meet you at the Tasty Freeze. And my dad, who's not a, he was like, we got to get out of here. And so we had to drive through the town. And so we stopped at the Tasty Freeze. And sure enough, 2 of the elders was there. Do you know what they wanted to do? They wanted to share with us something from the bound volume. And if it hadn't been for my dad, I don't know what would have happened to my brother. And he told me, he says, look, my son is not going to die because of what is in those books. And from there, we drove on to Raleigh. But the thought that people's lives were lost is very, very sad. It's very, very sad. And so now with this new change that we see, it's going to be very interesting, the impact on Jehovah's Witnesses themselves, the impact in the media, the impact around the world, because this teaching costs people their lives. Right now, as we are talking, all around the world, the media, the BBC, the Associated Press, they're carrying this article. They're carrying this article about the Jehovah's Witnesses have changed their teachings on blood. And in the comments on a lot of those newspapers and a lot of those TV papers, people are laughing at witnesses. They are literally laughing at witnesses. So this is something very personal, and we wanted to take this opportunity to let you as well share your thoughts. Please post in the comments section your personal experience, what your thoughts are. We'll see it, and we're going to try to share as many as we possibly can, because this is ridiculous. But once again, we'd like to welcome everybody here. We have our guests with us this evening, and we're going to have them share some thoughts on the changes, what they've seen, what they are hearing people who are still in say as well. And to get us started, I guess we want to start really with a conversation we were just having just before we came live with Ephraim. Ephraim, when you first heard this, what was your first reaction?
Anger. That was the first thing, anger. I mean, I knew it was coming eventually because Garrett Loesch, he said after a lot of prayer, which really what he meant was after consulting with our legal department, we have decided to make a change in this policy. But I personally, my grandmother, she passed away because she refused a blood transfusion. She was at the hospital. She's diabetic. She was bleeding out internally, and they tried everything that they could, but they said, look, she needs blood. But she was a Jehovah's Witness. She said no. She passed away.
Wow.
So it's just infuriating, and it's not only the change, it's the way they make these things. They have no decency, no heart, no apologies, nothing. And not only that, they try to insult our intelligence by saying, oh, this is a clarification, let's clarify this, like if, oh, we always believe that you could do anything with the blood. I mean, that's always been that way. We just want to clarify we didn't lie to you, you misunderstood us. So it's just infuriating.
Yeah. How about you, Lucille? Are you joining? Thank you for joining as well.
Yeah, thanks.
I know you really have a lot to say about this too. You want to share your thoughts, and welcome to the panel.
Thanks. I think my initial thoughts were, one, I wasn't surprised. I have long said that I believe that the Jehovah's Witnesses are on the track to move themselves more in line with traditional Christian theology. And that basically a lot of these changes are to get them to that point. I think what I was surprised at by the change wasn't that it was made. I believed that they were going to eventually have to get rid of the blood doctrine. What I was surprised is that the change that was made was negligible. When you really think about it, it only helps in a small instance. You know what I mean? It had so many flaws in it. I mean, this wasn't where they got rid of the ban, which is what I expected. This is where they're saying, in this small instance, you can now, put your blood up in case you need it. But there's so many flaws in it that the ex-Jehovah's Witness community has decimated it within hours. I mean, first of all, this is something, that probably is only like if you have a surgery that you have planned. If your blood is stored in Pennsylvania and you end up in an accident in Mexico, that's not really doing you too much. Secondly, it's like, if you, what happens then to people who live in countries where that's not an option? So you're saying this set of brothers has this option to this resource, but these other ones don't, or the fact that blood can only be stored for about 42 days. So there were so many holes in it that it makes you wonder if the ExJW community has basically decimated this within hours, who was at the table making the decision? I think the second thing for me was how messy the execution was with it, in terms of the fact that, you make this change that's very flawed. That was the first thing. The execution was very flawed. Then you make the change and you don't update your website. When I last checked, the old teaching was still there. This lady, see, they should have already had their little links together, so that it clicked on with the new information once the change was made. So the execution was very flawed. The thought process behind the doctrine itself is almost negligible. It has almost really no benefit to the brothers and the sisters. And then it was bad. It was just really bad. Later, because I want other people to have a chance to speak, I want to really talk about the grief aspect behind this that Ephraim has alluded to regarding this change.
Well, before y'all get to that part, I want to just make a point that it made me think about how everything that they do and when the changes come through, it just kind of made me think, was there someone at Bethel that needed a surgery and then they wanted to find a technicality to, incorporate their treatment into the system where, oh, hey, look, you know what? You could store your blood. The Bible don't say anything about that. I prayed fervently to Jehovah last night. I came up with this new solution because, it's always got to be somebody way up in the echelons of the religion, that they're going to make sure they get themselves taken care of instead of you. And then, so those are some of the things that was going through my mind, because when they were talking about how they were trying to get into some country and they decided to change the blood fraction because they had to get a shot to get, to go to some country. So they did make allowances for that. So it seems like every time, it's like, isn't it nice if you can make the rules and you can move the goalposts and change things only when the people who are running the show or in charge of the operation have a glitch in their lives, that now we can make some changes. So I thought that was really, really sad when you kind of think about how they rolled this out. And then I think too, it was another situation where my sister-in-law, we were sharing this with her because we had breakfast with her this morning before she went back down to North Carolina. And she said one of the things that hit her is the fact that she had to have a blood transfusion. And she was like, listen, she said, how can I store my blood? She says, I need blood. So if she had to have a surgery, she don't have no blood to give because her blood is already low. So these are some of the kind of things and conversations that we've been talking to different people with, here lately.
Yeah. The point you made, Lucille, was excellent, was right on target. The execution was terrible. And the point that Lady C mentioned about changes, that is something that when I was at Bethel, I heard a number of people make mention of that. The governing body, as you know, they fly all around the world. They go to hundreds of countries and all this kind of stuff. And in certain countries, you have to take shots. I mean, that's very common. And as we know, the Watchtower is very conscious of everything or every shot, what it's made of. And that is something that I heard many times. But one of the things that caught my attention about the execution, if you go back to the video, did you notice where it was in the video? They made it the last thing. Here's something that is going to deal with people's lives, and they throw it on page 39, lower level, paragraph 3. That's what they did. And that was really intentional. They want to just get it in, get it out of the way, and move on. And we all know that the organization has the capacity, when they want to make something known, it becomes a special talk. It becomes a special watchtower. It's something that letters were sent out to the elders, read to the congregation. It's not thrown on the back page of the newspaper like they just did. And that's what they did. They threw it at the very end of the broadcast. And it's just one of those things that when you look at how, as one brother said, it looks like, he said, I was surprised he's a witness, and he said, it looks like it wasn't well thought out. And of course, he can't tell nobody how he thought about that, but that's true. This is like something that they just threw mud at the wall. Let's see what sticks. And as I had mentioned to Ephraim, I personally just did not realize how much in legal trouble this organization is in. When the organization, and it's very important to remember this. I try to point this out to people. We look at the history of the organization. I want you to think back to when J.F. Rutherford was in prison. When J.F. Rutherford got in prison, it was because they had written a book that they were being accused of being sedition. And they went to prison, and then they were released. And then, of course, they tried to come up with the idea that, this was a Bible fulfillment. But what's interesting is they took that book and they went back and re-edited out. They re-edited out what was necessary to stay out of trouble with the government. So all the way back to J.F. Rutherford, this has been an organization that when money and dollars are involved, they have no problem whatsoever changing their teachings. You have to ask the critical thinking question. Where is we shall serve God rather than men at? Because if you've been like me, if you grew up, anybody on this channel right now, anybody who's watching or anybody who sees this, if you grew up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses as a kid, you couldn't back down. You had to stand there and take your punishment, stand out there in that hall while the children inside carried on. But this is the organization that whenever they get into trouble, they'll take the word of God. We're going to reverse this and change this around. And that's exactly what we see they are doing. They are flipping scriptures. So I mean, it's just amazing how they do this with no problem. They don't even blink. As the
Yeah, I
government,
mean,
yeah, don't blink.
that's one of the other things that first came to my mind also was, I think they believe they're going to lose in Norway. When that was because it reminded me of what happened in Bulgaria, that they were taking off they lost
blood.
their
They did the blood.
registry. Yeah. So and it was for the blood thing, and then they went ahead and changed it. All they did was change the legal aspects of it. You know, they changed from disfellowship to being disassociated, and they signed a legal document saying that there will be no consequences if you took the blood, which was a complete lie.
Yeah.
But they did it in a way that the government ate it up, and they give them back their registration. So now things are different with the internet and technology. So I really do hope that Norway doesn't sleep in the 3-second zone. But so let's see what happens on that one.
Yeah.
I like this comment that this person just made here about the governing body don't know medicine, period. They need to stop this mess and just let people be. Because when you really kind of think about it, and thank you so much for making that comment, because who do they think they are giving you the right to live or not? You know, based on a scripture that they don't even understand. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's an excellent point that the poster made, and I'm glad you highlighted that. Let me. I just want to share just a piece of information that a lot of people they never really think about it because we never think about what goes on behind the scenes. At Bethel, most people have no idea who the guys are who work in the writing department, who write these articles. They have no idea who these guys are. Well, let me tell you who they are. You have a Bethelite who comes to Bethel at 19 or 20. They're going to put him automatically in laundry, cleaning, bindery, press room. And he will stay at Bethel for 10, 20, 15, 30 years. He literally works his way up through the organization at Bethel. And then he is finally given the assignment to work in the writing department. This is a dude who came in with a high school diploma. He is not going to be sent off to some college to learn Greek, Hebrew, and Aramaic. None of that. He will basically use, as Raymond Franz said in his book, the old watchtowers to look up his sources of references many times. These are the guys who write the articles. These boys used to work in the laundry, and now they are writing articles on medicine. One of the most important guys at Bethel, and I'm gonna do a video on that, hopefully. His name is Gene Smalley. I invite you, look up information on Gene Smalley. He is basically considered the architect of the blood doctrine. He is the go-to man. He is the subject matter expert. I cannot imagine how he must be feeling right now with them dismantling a teaching that he was so instrumental in putting together, trying to make sure all the little pieces fit. And now they are about to throw this thing out the door. So, it's just amazing that these guys have no background in these fields many times, but yet they will give you and I directions.
Yeah. And this comment that's right here on the screen right now, you are going to hear a lot of this.
Yes.
My father and aunt passed away from not accepting a blood transfusion. This is going to be a whole lot of people saying this.
And that's what I wanted to talk about regarding the loss, in terms of, I've had a lot of loss recently. I lost my mother. I was telling Lady C, and I've spent a lot of time in the grief space to deal with that. A lot of times when I talk about the whole Jehovah's Witness thing and the changes and stuff, I tend to intellectualize it. And what stopped me from that was when you guys did when I started reading the comments that people made when they made the educational change. And so I started going into comments this time, and you see people saying the same thing. My mother died 25 years ago because of the blood doctrine. I had a father who left left the religion 45 years ago. He still died because he believed in this blood doctrine. I had a family member who died 2 months ago because of this. And so the grief space is not really yet ready to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses in these types of struggles. Normally, when you're dealing with grief, you lost a family member or you lost a job, you got a divorce, very traditional types of things. But to have to deal with a mother who's a baby boomer who has to sit and tell you, my child died because I wouldn't sign off on a blood transfusion, that's grief at a whole nother level. And I really, if anybody's listening to this who's part of the grief space, grief counselors, grief coaches, I really want them to encourage them to use whatever the literature is now in terms of how to help people navigate grief, and then more specifically target that to helping ex-Jehovah's Witnesses deal with this specific type of grief. The other grief that a lot of us are dealing with is the fact that every time they make a change, we get re-triggered, because we then look at opportunities we lost, scholarships we gave up, marrying people that we should never have married because of decisions that were made by men. I was one of the fortunate ones. I came out with my family, though it was fractured. My mother went above and beyond to make sure that I had access to education and opportunities after we all walked away. But at my age, I've been out 40 years and I'm still mad at the fact of the opportunities that I lost. I'm still mad at the fact that I didn't get to dream. Maybe I should have been that doctor. Maybe I should have been that lawyer. Maybe I should have entered finance. All these different things that we're carrying with us. So there's a multi-layered type of loss that we're carrying, whether we were impacted by this doctrine or by the fact that they're now making changes that we had been following all these years. And then we also have to remember that regarding this doctrine specifically, all of us, whether we lost a family member to it or not, all of us were one trauma, one infection, one emergency surgery away from this impacting us too. So like I said, if there's anybody listening, because I plan to write a couple of articles that deal with this and specifically the grief in terms of helping Jehovah's Witnesses deal with that so that we can move forward and that we're not just stuck every time they make a change, because they're not going to apologize. They will constantly use the terminology and say that this is a clarification when we know it's a change. They're not going to acknowledge the pain and the hurt and all of that. And it's our responsibility to give ourselves closure. And that's what spaces that like you and Lady C have set up and Ephraim has set up with his channel provide all of us an opportunity to do. But I hope that grief counselors really catch on to this and start developing some type of, plan or system to help ex-Jehovah's Witnesses with this unique type of grief.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, and because this is such a you got to keep in mind that even though we're growing in this space, the ex-Jehovah's Witness community is still a very new space on YouTube in terms of, just people just coming out. And I think that it's growing. It's probably one of the biggest growing communities as well, because every time a new person wakes up, someone creates a channel to share their story. And I think that's what makes it so nice, because it's not just 2 or 3 people saying stuff, but it's also just a whole bunch of people that are, chiming in. And now we got AI helping us.
Oh, definitely.
What I mean? So even AI realizes that we need some help out here, right?
Yeah.
But bottom line is, there's a lot going on in the community. I would love to see more people to specialize in different areas of the ex-Jehovah's Witness space, because it's not just I woke up and I found out this wasn't the truth, and now I'm going to create a channel and start talking about all the old watchtowers. But how can we create a space where you can see different patterns forming that really can help people when it comes to, like, everybody didn't have the same thing, right? Everybody didn't experience the same things. So find the people and the different tribes that kind of fit together so that people can meet in different groups that are experiencing the same type of trauma. I mean, those are some of the things that other spaces do. They eventually niche, they get more niche. And that's what I was trying to do with my hidden struggles, right? Putting a little plug in. It was supposed to be about learning life lessons after leaving and how to get yourself together. And, because some people wanted to also know those things as well. Not just talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, but talking about what I can do after I leave. How can I get myself together?
Yeah. Dr. Felicia, that is so good. That is so true. Because there is life after Watchtower. Dr. Felicia, she's in the comment section. We thank you for being here. And I
want to thank this a person I want to say thank you for the Flintstone fan super sticker. We appreciate you. And any donations you give goes towards our software and expenses for our channel. So thank you so much for those individuals that are donating. JT, you said Dr. Felicia, where's her comment?
It's a little back. It's moving so fast. Thank you for this stuff.
It's kind of, I got my glasses on, they're glaring and everything. My computer screen is way over there. I can't see. Okay.
While you're searching about that, I'll share a story.
Go ahead.
This was back in probably the 80s, maybe early 90s, but I'm guessing it's like late 80s. Back in Puerto Rico, in my hometown, there's this young couple, and they're having, like, I think it was like the third or fourth baby. And after she had the baby, there was something that the doctor did, and she started bleeding out. So they went like, okay, she needs a blood transfusion. Of course, Jehovah's Witnesses, they said, no blood. Well, she passed away, leaving her husband and 3 or 4 kids without a wife and mom. And to top that off, because it was some sort of malpractice, he could have sued. But he said, no, I'm not going to do that because the end is so near. Like, the end is so near. Why I'm going to go through all this is most likely, like, in a couple of years, we're going to be in paradise. That was over 25 years ago. Now, that the kid who grew up without its mom probably has children of its own.
Wow, that's a shame.
And
go ahead, Ephraim.
I'm sorry. I mean to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No. I was going to share another story. This was recent. I was talking about this with JT and Lady C earlier, like the old school witnesses. There was an elder also from that congregation, and this passed last year. He was from before dialysis was a conscience matter. So he will be him, and that I remember that first group of elders. They would say, I know that they changed it to a conscience matter, but to me that's wrong. So even though they left it to it's optional, they will not. He said, I will not do dialysis because I believe it's wrong. Yeah. Well, last year he got to a point that he needed dialysis, and true to his word, he didn't accept it.
Wow.
Died within a week.
Yeah, it's funny you said that. One of the comments, someone put a comment in here that's really a powerful comment. He said the person made the point that when he was 12 years old, and the doctors told him he needed blood, and his mom looked him in the face and told him, "I'll see you in the new system." Wow. Wow. So I mean, this is just crazy. I want to thank the goddess for supporting us, as well as our friends from Ontario, Canada as well. Thanks for the super chats, everyone. Can you believe that? How you gonna tell a 12, not even a teenager, I'll see you in the new system? I mean, and
That's because they were indoctrinated with that.
yeah, I know.
And I'll tell you my own personal experience. So here I am, 17 years old. I'm in the hospital. And of course, I'm told that, you know, you don't want to get blood because of our religion. And I was very ill. So at this point, the only people that could be advocating for me would be someone who had their strength, and you know, hopefully they had some mental capacity, which they didn't, because they had no blood written all over my charts. I was told years ago after this incident that when a person is bleeding out and they don't have enough blood, that it's a very painful process and a painful way to die. But at my time, I didn't need blood, okay? So I was not in that type of a struggle. But I can say this, because I was so weak, I wouldn't even know what I was even thinking about doing, because I had been taught that this is what I'm supposed to do. But I was too weak to, if somebody came in the room and gave me this broadcast, let's say this broadcast was playing, right? And they were telling me, oh, look, you could get blood now. Let's just say it is real blood, though, not just storing your own blood. You would have been too weak to even entertain that, you know? But you have been so indoctrinated by the fact that you're not supposed to take blood, that even when the notice is being said you can do it now, people would still be dying for it. Just like Ephraim, you just said about the person in the didn't want to go for dialysis and things like that. But I'm just saying, so I think about it. I did not need the blood. And I'm one of the fortunate ones that can actually talk about it. But to think that those people that were supposed to be advocating for my rights and having enough information about, you know, life and death to allow the Watchtower to overrule. And if I would have needed that blood, I would not even be here to be talking today.
Yeah, that's deep.
And then for my dad, and both my parents were sitting there at the hospital.
They didn't know.
And my dad was crying, my mom was crying. And I told my dad some years ago, I said, you were gonna let me die?
They didn't know.
And my dad was like, no.
They didn't know.
I know. He said, I was not gonna let you die. And I don't know, because my mom was ruling the roost over there. I know there was not gonna be one tube of blood going through these veins. You know?
Yeah, that's I see the doctor is back again. I just want to put a question out to the doctor. Have you ever dealt with Jehovah's Witnesses and the subject of blood? And the only reason I'm asking this question is because Lady C and I we were in an accident about 2 years ago, and we got a chance to talk to one of the doctors. And she, like you, she was very disgusted with the Jehovah's Witness whole program of the Hospital Liaison Committee, because, as she said, these men don't know anything about medicine, and yet they're handing out all these, well, try this medicine, try this, and try this technique. And they're like, you know nothing about this. And so I was just wondering to the doctor who's in the chat room, have you ever personally, or you know of some colleagues who have had to deal with Jehovah's Witnesses and the blood issue? So if you could just share a thought, we would certainly all appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, and that's a question I think is a question we can also entertain, because it's like I said before, this idea of changing this blood doctrine wasn't well thought out. Because now, what do you do with the Hospital Liaison Committee now? I can't imagine those guys who have spent the last 30 years arguing back and forth with doctors, clinicians, administrators about, no, Jehovah's Witnesses, we can't do this, and the Bible says, and now these same men have to go back into those conference rooms and correct and change. Well, we can take it now. And this is exactly the same way it was for people when they dealt with the issue of alternative service, going into the military. They was a substitute going to the hospitals or working on the road crews. They couldn't do it. Then they had to go back and embarrass themselves. Now they can do it. And here we are all over again, where Jehovah's Witnesses are made to hang out and dry. The governing body at some point, it's like, you got to wake up. But this organization will hang its members out to dry. I mean, if there's a choice between do we protect the organization or we protect the individual Christian servant of God, we're gonna leave the Christian servant of God to hang out and dry. And that is what that is the constant thing that we see with this organization. And it's
a slap in the face. It's a slap in the face how he actually how he worded everything. First, he doesn't say that it's a change. No, this is a clarification. Like if that's as I said earlier, it's an insult. Although the Spanish translation, because I saw the video both in English and Spanish, the Spanish translated it, this is a change in doctrine. So that was very interesting.
Yeah.
But not only that, they go to the point that they even blame God, their God Jehovah, for it. Because if you listen carefully, at one point he says, for the longest time, we were guided to believe that, the Mosaic law, guided by who? By Jehovah's Spirit. So they don't even say, they don't have the faith to say, we understood it wrong, we were wrong, we didn't interpret this correctly. No, they're saying, God guided us this way. Now we have to clarify this other way, which is a complete contradiction. But
yeah,
they are so narcissist and so arrogant that they cannot even fathom taking any type of accountability.
Yeah.
And think about this also. They love numbers, so I'm going to show the. Could
you just for a second? I just want to acknowledge the super chats and the comments. I hope y'all guys are seeing these comments. I left out some in the last comment I made. The individual who was 12, the court stepped in. The court stepped in, and thank goodness, because if you had just left it to those witness parents, man.
And I think that's the way it probably is in the Western world now in general, because I actually watched a video a long time ago. And that was around the time of when Ray France was, doing interviews, and this couple said that, the court stepped in for them. So I think right now it's probably very hard for this to happen to children unless they're maybe 16, 17 or whatever. But yeah, it's difficult. Somebody else in the super chat made a comment about the how they said we're no longer bound by the law. And I thought that was what was really, really strange when Loesch did the presentation, was he said, yes, we're not bound by law. That's why we're making this clarification. And it was like, wait a minute, but if you take another half a step to the right, then that means that your whole blood doctrine then it shouldn't be in effect, because you're basing a lot of that on Old Testament teaching too. So it was like, do you hear what you're saying? And that was kind of goes back to them being not really planning this out, because that basically negated the whole blood, doctrine in general.
Yeah.
I think about it like this. If Jehovah's Witnesses, without the membership, this religion could not exist. And if they don't do anything else, people need to stand up to let them know, even if they want to belong to this religion, that if they want to play God with my life, I won't do that. And I think that's what needs to happen to so many people. And we realize there's a lot of people that just are not going to leave this religion. And some people have decided that they're going to stay as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're going to do things their way. And so that message needs to be loud and clear for people who don't want to leave, that yes, you do have a choice to live if you want to live. Because if you want to stay here and allow them to keep making these kind of changes in your life, all to lose a close family friend, spouse or whatever, to be told 10 or 15 years later that it was okay, then you're going to have to live with that. But you could be those people that we talked to the other day, because JT made 2 phone calls. Now, I'll say this. We left this religion many years ago, and JT said he wasn't going to deal with nobody because he knew that they knew why we left, and they didn't want to have nothing to do with us after we left. But after this blood issue came to the surface the other day, he made 2 very personal phone calls to 2 PMEs, physically in, mentally in individuals. And both of them, I'll let JT tell the story because it's his story. But the bottom line is they ain't going nowhere. They're not leaving.
Yeah, they're not leaving.
Okay. So JT, you want to share those stories? I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, and that's what we were. I think this is a very important lesson for the ex-Jehovah's Witness community. One of the things I noticed in quite a few comments on the various boards were how many ex-Jehovah's Witnesses were disappointed. And what they were disappointed in the fact that they thought that something like this would be what would break the linchpin. And they found out it did not. And I think it's a very important lesson that we come to the realization that mom, dad, brother, sister, they just might not leave. And so one of the things that we see, because we see a lot of people, even though we haven't been doing videos, a lot of people don't realize how much behind the scenes. Oh my God, you just won't believe. I told Lady CS, sometimes I feel like I'm an elder all over again. So, but the number of people that we talk to offline, they don't want to come online. I don't want to be out there online. I don't want nobody to know them. But can you give me a call? Can we meet somewhere? I mean, you just won't believe it. I mean, we have helped more people leave this religion than we ever brought in. And so that is a good feeling, because I think back, and this is just I'm sorry, y'all. This is just me. Okay. I think about how many people that you impact their lives. I used to give talks, and sometimes single sisters would come up, and then they would have their children, their son. We in the hood, we in Southeast DC, and the sister would say, "Brother JT, I'm so glad you gave the talk today. My son said they want to come to the Kingdom Hall, but he said he enjoyed your talk. He enjoyed it. He really enjoyed it. He says the first time, he thought about, what he needed to do with his life, and you helped him." And I think back to some of these guys. Some of these guys are now at Bethel. Lord have mercy. But to be able to help people to leave is very important for me, because I kept a lot of folks in, thought I was doing what was right. But you don't know. You do what you do. But yeah, and so to see that despite all the evidence and all the proof and everything that you can show people, some people are not going to accept it. And you've got to decide as a former Jehovah's Witness, when is it time to cut the cord? We hope and pray and whatever that they will come, but we can't keep holding our lives on hold. That out of all the people we've talked to over the years, and believe me, it's been quite a few years since we left this organization, one of the constant things that we keep hearing over and over is people saying, "Man, I wish I had left earlier. I wish, because I wasted so much time waiting for them to come out, to wake up." And they realize that they've spent, in some cases, 5, 10, 15 years waiting for their parents to come out. They could have got 2 doctorate degrees, but they didn't want to do anything. And so I think this is really a learning opportunity, because you're seeing something that realistically, I mean, there is no way you can explain someone seeing this change and not realizing they've been hoodwinked and bamboozled, only if they're in a high control group.
Yesterday, I heard somebody mention this, and it's so true. He said, "Look, some people in the Jehovah's Witness community, the governing body could come up tomorrow and say, 'Hey guys, it was all a lie. The 140 years of lies, we're closing down the watchtower and we're running away the money.' And they will still say, 'But I still believe this is God's organization.' And
yes, they would.
Wait until that Jehovah's going to fix it eventually."
That
is true.
And they will still believe
it. Can't make this up. Ephraim, I'm not gonna tell you a lie. This brother, I don't know what it was. I don't know why the universe. Every time I would go to the post office,
Yeah, I
the
know.
same brothers like, "Are you following me or what?" And we would be talking. And he was like, "You just don't know. Oh my God, we've been through it. The brothers, they don't give us a hard time, and we just working through it because Jehovah is helping us out." And this brother was just like, and I just told him, I said, "Well, we just left." I said, "I ain't gonna be sitting up here fighting with no brother, no Kingdom Hall. Not literally fighting, but going in here, getting all stressed out and realizing that I could be living my life over here and enjoying whatever." He said, "I'm telling you right now, Kathy." He said, this you just gotta just lean on Jehovah, because Jehovah's gonna come through. So this was like what? I've been running into him at the post office. Well, he's that brother that JT called the other day.
Yeah.
He listened to everything he said, everything.
Yeah.
And he said, "You ain't gonna get no," he said, "You're not gonna get no disagreement with me."
Crazy, man. I mean, he said, JT, I agree everything you're saying, man.
Yes. He agreed with everything he said. And then he followed up and he said, "But Jehovah, you just gotta trust in Jehovah."
I wanted to pay him slap. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
And
I have family members
No,
that
I got
already.
it.
Yeah.
I understand. I get it. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay. Now, I know some people that decided that they were gonna, leave the United States for one reason or another, and they left. And then I started talking to people, and they were like, "Look, I don't care what happens. I'm not going nowhere," right? So if a person has got to leave because they think they got to save their life or whatever it is, and then you're talking to some people that's leaving, and you're talking to some people who staying, you have to appreciate and let people be who they are. This is what they want. I mean, I don't care what comes or goes. If a person has their mind made up and they believe that this is where they're supposed to be, this is where they're going to be.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I have family members that already said, like, yeah, they were like, "Oh, this is a blessing from Jehovah."
Yes.
Already.
But I think it's like, for me, the witnesses are like frogs in a pot. And they've been raising the temperature up so slowly that they don't even realize they're being baked and cooked and all that kind of stuff. And that's why it's hard for them to leave. The other thing I've had to come to grips with is the same thing that Lady C said, is that it is not my responsibility to tell you that you have to leave if you're adamant about that. I mean, and for those of us who are helpers, it's almost like, I think somebody even made this comment. I don't know if it was during this discussion or somewhere else. If you see somebody hurting or somebody needs help, you want to point them in the right direction. Have you tried this? Have you done that? So we tend to potentially be that way. But the literature is out here. Anybody who wants to know about who these people are, it's everywhere. It's so accessible. It's on Wikipedia. There's articles. There's everything available. So I don't have to lead you out of this. Like Lady C said, if this is the way you feel, you want to live your life, you have free will. And who am I to take that from you if that's what the Creator gave you? And lastly, for me, the best way that we can help people is really imparting upon them the necessity to educate themselves and their children so that they don't end up in this kind of foolishness. Make our children feel comfortable to question. A lot of times parents stop that when their children question them. You know what I mean? You have to make your kids feel comfortable to say, "Mom or Dad, that didn't make sense. Explain to me why you did that." A lot of times we like, I'm grown, man. What you doing? What you saying? What you saying? And I never did that with my son. If I sent my son to do a task and said, "Do A, B, and C," and he came back and said, "This is what you said, but I got there and the situation was this, so I did, Z." Okay, you made a good choice. And education doesn't have to be expensive. This is about just making sure our children get a basic level of education, that they know how to critically evaluate, they have good reading comprehension skills, that if someone tells them, don't seek out an outside source to question them, that they know that that's the cue to do it. I've had an employer do that, a big, huge employer tell us, you know, it was a political thing. You don't need to look on the outside. We're going to give you all the information you need. And I'm like, wait a minute, I grew up in a high controlling group. So when you telling me don't go research, I'm already checking you out. I done looked up all your articles. I done checked out the whether or not you're being sued by the government. So really it comes back, like I said, to educating ourselves, feeling comfortable that we can, educating our children, making them feel comfortable with their reading comprehension, their sense of logic, and feeling comfortable to question authority, so that and to do their own research. Because I'm gonna tell you, when I go into the doctor now, they ask me, are you a medical professional? No, I just had a good mama. That's what I tell them. Because I can say, oh, you published 4 articles last year, or you did this, or the literature says that, but you trying to get me to take this medicine. So I had parents that were that way. And I just want to encourage all of us to do that with ourselves and the people in our lives, so that we don't waste more time in something similar.
Yeah, I want to thank the superfood for the support as well.
Oh yeah, Laquita. Hey, Laquita.
Yeah. And the point was made about the children, and that's and as you just mentioned as well, you and y'all two are in harmony. Someone asked about lawsuits, and I think this has probably been the driving reason. Personally, I think that the driving reason for all these doctrines changing is the Watchtower is very concerned about lawsuit.
Yeah.
And so they're coming. They're definitely coming. We did a video a while back on Japan, and the incident in Japan with the prime minister being quote unquote unlived by a member of the Moonies, and as a result, you can check the video. We'll put the link in at the bottom when we're done, because we're going to repost this. But what happened is a member of the Moonies religious organization took the life of the prime minister. And so the government started looking into, well, who was this young man that took his life? And they found out that he was a member of the Moonies religion. And they found out how influential that religion was in shaping this young man's life. Well, they simply expanded it to include all different foreign religious groups, including Jehovah's Witnesses. And now the organization has had to fill out this long form, this whole narrative. They hired consultants who were Jehovah's Witnesses to write up this article about, Jehovah, we're good people. We can do what we want. The organization out of New York don't tell us what to do. And they're very concerned about this because the Moonies Church in Japan has lost its tax-exempt status and its recognition. And one of the things this organization knows, the Watchtower understands legal precedent. If it happens in one country, in one place, it will domino around. Just a simple example. Do you recall when the Watchtower said that the literature is free? We're no longer going to charge it. That started with one case out of California. Okay. Jimmy Swaggart Ministries lost his case where he was going to be taxed for all his books, tapes, magazines, anything he sends out was going to be taxed. The Watchtower was aware of it. They filed what's called an amicus brief, which is a friend of the court. Not that they was with Jimmy Swaggart, but they simply said, we are concerned because we'll be affected if this becomes law, because we got lots of magazines we give out and we don't want to be taxed. And within a matter of moments, the Watchtower sent letters out to every congregation. Literature is free, because they didn't want to fall into the hands of being taxed. So this religion will change its teachings. It will change its doctrines to keep that good old greenback. You got to love it, man.
The case with the Moonies over there in Japan, one of the things that the person said, he mentioned about that he was not allowed to go to college.
Yes.
And right after that, the announcement came, you're allowed to get it additional, not higher additional education right after that.
Right after that.
And as soon as they lost the case in Spain, when it was brought about that they controlled even beards and the sister couldn't wear pants, as soon as they lost that, beards are okay.
Yeah.
Pants are okay. So what they call New Light is all about legal issues. And I don't know, you guys remember the doctor in Nigeria? I wonder how she's feeling right now. This JW doctor who refused to transfuse blood, give a blood transfusion to this lady who was not a witness, because it was against her conscience, and the lady died, and she left like 4 children, and it was all over the news. You guys remember that?
I don't remember the article, but I do remember the letter. It was a June 15th letter. I've seen it somewhere. It's a June 15th letter that was sent to all the circuit overseers. It wasn't even sent to regular elders. It was sent to the circuit overseers and basically they were told to meet with nurses and doctors to let them know you cannot be the one who requests a blood transfusion.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this case. I'm reading it here. It's May 20 of last year. A 7-month pregnant woman named Victoria Paris in Nigeria. She needed blood, and her doctor, who was a Jehovah's Witness, refused, and she died because of it. And
she refused. Right? She refused to give blood, right?
Give blood, not to take it. To give blood, and
she refused to give the transfusion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. That's what the letter was about.
Oh, really? Okay.
I did not know that the Watchtower sent. They had all the nurses and all of the doctors, and they told them you cannot be the one to administer or request for a blood transfusion. And so now this is going to be very interesting now, because what do you do now that the Watchtower now gives Jehovah's Witnesses the opportunity? So they got to go back and change the teaching, and they try to do it, and they did it based on the smoking. For those who've been around this organization for years, the Watchtower made a distinction between people who worked in a smoke shop and people who worked like at the supermarket and gave out cigarettes for people to smoke. They said, well, if you're not doing it a lot, then you can go ahead and sell the cigarettes. But if you sell them all day long, you can't, so I don't know what scripture they tried to use. But yeah, for those who've been around for a while, you know that there was a distinction that the organization tried to make. If you worked, you couldn't do it. Like, man, they just.
But it's funny you bring that up, because
stuff, man.
When I was an adult, it's funny you bring that up. This woman told me, she said that she worked in a drugstore. She got pulled into the elders' room over the selling of cigarettes and shit at the drugstore. And she said, my father was an elder. And she said, when your daddy came in the room and they told him what the charges were against me, she said, your daddy cracked up laughing and told that elder's body, don't y'all ever bring me back in here for this foolishness again.
This is and that is the danger in this organization, because the danger in this organization is that these men, they get to determine, well, we think that you sell too many cigarettes. Well, you can go up to another circuit, and the brother's like, don't worry about it. It's okay. So you got some person getting this fellowship or removed over here, and this person, he's going to be given a part in the circuit assembly next week, and they do the same thing. All because the elders that you interact with, this is how they want to enforce the rule.
But it comes all the way from above.
Yeah. See, first of all, there shouldn't even be any rules. And people, you've been sitting in here like a melting pot for so many years. Like, I think, Lucille, you mentioned the cooking frog. And it's like, okay, so you put your life in the hands of these men. And for whatever reason, the Watchtower became the genie in the bottle for so many people. Because it was almost like, you saved me from this gambling habit. You saved me from this life of sin that I was going down, and so everybody has some kind of a genie in a bottle story to give to the Watchtower, and their devotion is just that strong. So then at that point, once they have lynched onto this ideology of these men being strong, now they can make any mistake they want, but you're still going back to, if they weren't here for me, that I wouldn't be here myself. So then you got those are some of the people that you're dealing with here, and then it's just a matter of people just trusting, because another brother that JT asked the question when he talked to the other day, he said, "Man," he said, "why do you think they're just not leaving?" And he said, "Because they have nowhere else to go." So this is it. They don't have any place. They don't think they have any place else to go.
Exactly.
And this is what's also driving them, is the fact that they think that they're going to cling to these men who gave all these promises. And don't forget all those buildings that make you think that Jehovah's blessing them. So you got a whole lot of stuff that you're dealing with, and people can be a little superstitious.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You put all that together, and you shake it up in a bag. Boom! You don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah, Lady C, the poster right now, Super Chat R. Notice what that poster said, and it confirms exactly what you just said. This person had an experience today where he was talking to someone, and they said to him or her,
where,
that this is a provision from Jehovah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you should have seen on Yahoo.
Yeah.
Yahoo posted the changes in the article, and you should have seen all the people, the Jehovah's Witnesses, that were defending this. In fact, some of them don't even know their own faith. They were like, "Well, we've been allowed to do this since 2001," and the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are showing them the documents from ExJW.org, and they're just like, "What are you talking about?"
I got it right here.
Yeah,
I got it right here.
She said, "What changed?" But it's and I quickly do want to acknowledge. I know you guys, JT and Lady C, are good about this. All of the people here who are saying, like one woman said, that her father died last October. All the people who did lose their loved ones to this particular doctrine, and I just want to tell them I'm really, really sorry that happened, because the witness leadership is not going to tell them that they're sorry.
That's right.
So I am sorry that you lost your loved one, your parents, your siblings, friends, and I want to acknowledge that hurt and tell them, put your stories in the comments, because though they're not going to acknowledge us, they cannot. They can't fight against what is written when it's there, when people are putting their experiences. And it's important for us to just flood all of the different YouTube channels with our experiences of loss.
Yes.
And so you don't have to acknowledge it, you don't have to say it, but the bottom line is, once it's written, I don't need you to come back and acknowledge it. I'm telling you what it is. And when you get thousands and thousands and thousands of people putting their stories in, even if they never acknowledge it publicly, eventually they will have to acknowledge this. There's going to come a reckoning with this.
Yeah, that's a great point. We want people to put it out. Lady C, Lady C and I, we're gonna try to capture the comments and include the comments in as well. The CO asked the question, why do you think that they use Loesch? That's a good question as to why they use them, but I don't know why they use them, but I do know one thing. There has got to have been some long faces as they was pulling straws on who's going to have to do this.
He's the senior.
Yeah.
He's the one who's been there the longest. So probably that
was terrible. That was terrible to have to be. I cannot imagine going by your turn, ain't mine. I did it last time.
But and what Lady C mentioned, all making up these rules, that it comes all the way. How many rules did he made up right then and there? It's like, the Bible doesn't say anything about using your own blood. Yeah, but it doesn't say anything about using any other person's blood either. Mm-hmm. So and it doesn't say anything about fractions. And they are always contradicting themselves, because I like the illustration that John Ledger from ExJW Analyzer said with the fractions. It's like, okay, you cannot eat a ham sandwich, but you can eat the bread alone. You can eat only the cheese, and you can eat only the ham. If you put them all together, it's prohibited. So it does. And not only that, if I'm a Jehovah's Witness and I go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to donate blood, I'm disfellowship. Mm-hmm. But I can accept fractions. Where does those fractions come from? Somebody donated that blood. So I can accept the fractions, but if I donate blood,
It's crazy. It's crazy.
I mean, it just does not make sense. And think about this also. This is something that also John Ledger mentioned, and I didn't think about. Jonestown, Guyana. 918 people died that day.
Oh, yeah.
And it's considered like
horrific,
the biggest tragedy in cold history.
Mm-hmm.
Over 1,000 people die each year, Jehovah's Witnesses, for refusing blood. There's an estimated of 30,000 to 55,000 people who have Jehovah's Witnesses who have died refusing a blood transfusion.
Yeah, because you can see they've been doing this ever since the 50s. Ever since
so just compare those numbers. That's 30 to 55 times more than Jonestown.
Yeah.
And here's the little kids.
Yeah. I mean, it's
I remember
like,
that.
Remember this magazine, y'all?
When was that article published? Is it 80 something?
Yeah.
I think it's May 23rd, 1984. No, is it 1994? What is it? I can't 94. See it.
I can't
remember that.
You remember? Yeah. Yeah. I cannot imagine how those parents, how many of these kids could have lived if the Watchtower didn't have that foolish teaching on, because we all know that they're going to make that final, they're doing it bit by bit. That, you know, let's test the water, see how, and this is why I tell people I think you had mentioned this, you just mentioned it earlier. The Watchtower, these guys are good with numbers. They run numbers up and down, backwards and forth. And so they have a very good idea of what their loss is with each new doctrine that they release. Is there any real growth or any real dropping? And if they don't see any significant drop in their people, then they know successful. They factor in that there are going to be a few people who are going to see this article about the change in blood, and they're like, this is crazy. And they're going to leave. But they know for an absolute fact that the vast majority is not. There's not, we're not going to be hearing a lot of Kingdom Halls with, 45 witnesses left because of the change. No, that's not going to happen. The Watchtower promised these people a pony, and they're going to stay there till they get their pony. And that's just the bottom line. These people are not going to leave. It's called, oh my goodness, I need y'all guys' help out there. It's a concept. I think it's in psychology. It's called sunken fallacy, I think.
Basically, the sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
The sunk cost fallacy. Yeah, that's why you just stick into it because you believe that you have invested so much. That you just stay in there.
Yeah.
That's what happened to people in Las Vegas.
Yes. And
yes, I was just thinking that at the casino.
Yeah, they keep playing. They keep playing.
They keep playing to try to get their money back.
And that's the way it is with witnesses. They have invested, and especially the older witnesses, they have 30, 40, 50 years invested. Where are they? When the Watchtower asked that question, where you going if you leave? That's a really good question, because for those people, they have given their lives and they really have nowhere to go. I think, you brought out all the things you can go back to college. Anybody can go back to college, but let's be honest. Let's just be honest. Going back to college as an adult at night, working a full-time job in the morning, 2 or 3 kids, and you working, that is not the same as you 19 years old and y'all going out that weekend. It's not the same. So there's an experience you can't get back.
Don't be discouraged.
No, I'm not talking discouraged. I'm not talking. I'm just making the point. I'm just making the point.
Yeah, but you making a valid point. It's very valid. They stole years from you.
Yeah, and that's the point, because you see, we have heard stories of people who were millionaires. They lost every dime they had, and then 4 or 5 years, they're millionaires again. But you have not heard somebody who was 22 and then they 36 and they 22 again.
Exactly.
And so that is the point. The Watchtower takes away your most important thing, and that's time.
Yes.
Yeah, you're completely correct. Right now I'm in the middle of getting my bachelor's degree.
You see what I'm saying?
And I'm telling you,
congratulations.
You just said okay, I'm gonna go through it, but It's not the same.
No.
It's not the same that I had done it when I was 19.
19.
I'm 54 now, but so I'm positive about what I could get out of it. But had I done that 30, 40 years ago, maybe I would have been retired by now.
And so that goes back to why some people are not going to leave. They have invested just so much into this organization, and they can't leave.
No, yeah.
Well, I tell you, this has really been good, y'all. I thank y'all guys for coming. I think everybody in the audience, especially those who shared their comments, their thoughts, their personal experience, the super chats. We appreciate you for supporting our channel. And we're going to continue this, because this is a discussion that helps all of us. Because now like I said, we still have people who are in. I called 2 people this past. I called them before it was on the internet, and I told them, I point blank told them, this is something that was passed along to me before the organization has released it. And he was like, "Yeah, I'm like, don't do that. Just." And
the other one said, "I don't care what they. I don't care what they say." But it was so crazy that what he said was. Can I tell him, JT?
Yeah, tell him.
He said, because what I'm waiting for is the society to tell us that we can be married to more than one woman.
Oh, no, that's a dream. Oh, man.
We can go back to being like there was in the Bible.
And you claim to be so spiritual.
All we could do is laugh.
Oh my God, that was crazy.
Tell him that's not happening, because New Testament teaching has already said that is not the way.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this announcement.
Oh my goodness, that's so crazy.
That announcement. Yeah, this announcement.
Jehovah's Witness. Okay.
How to wear that.
Yeah.
That tells you where his little thoughts are.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. And so you see everybody at the Kingdom Hall, the stand,
Oh yeah.
Everybody different reasons.
Say the self-exalted goofball is governing by.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are self-exalted.
This last thing, in terms of, I'm wondering, the fact that this shift was so minor is if there is some type of generational struggle that's going on at the leadership level, because they now have is it that the old schoolers are like, nah, we're not going to say we're going to get rid of it. But the new school is like, look, we all know biblically we're not on sound ground. And so this was the compromise, and then that explains the messiness of it. I'm wondering if some of that has got something to do with this.
What do you think? What do you think, Ephraim?
I believe that. I believe this announcement was a compromise. That's one of my theories. That they were like, okay, we got to get rid of this. Like, they sat down with the legal department, we got to get rid of this, and then they were like, no, but look at this, and they just said we got to go get some sort of compromise. So they came up with this half-baked policy, which makes no sense whatsoever. They didn't even think about the consequences, and it's not even feasible, because even if you wanted to donate your own blood, the blood will be bad in about a month. You cannot be going every single month. You cannot plan for an accident, and the hospital has to have the resources to do so. Plus, there are a bunch of costs that window washers are not going to be able to pay. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that when it comes down to it, it was just legal. It was a legal related announcement to cover their heinies.
Yeah. Let me just share this is just my personal opinion, and I'm basing this on just the information I have. That's all I can do. We want to thank everybody for the super chats. Thank you so much. As someone mentioned, these guys the radicalization is thorough. That's true. This is just my personal opinion. Some of you may remember in Ray Franz's book, he talked about how the governing body makes decisions. Mm-hmm. They make decisions by a 2/3 vote, which means if you have 9 members on the governing body and you can get 6 to vote the same way, then you can pass new teachings, new laws, whatever. So they would often have, and those of you who you've heard this phrase before, they would often have a meeting before the meeting. So when you got into this meeting, you already had your ducks lined up. You knew who was going to vote with you. The Watchtower used this method for many, many years. a few years ago, they changed it. They changed it to now the only way for doctrines and so forth to be changed, it has to be all members on the governing body have to vote anonymously. All of them together. There cannot be any difference in vote. Personally, I think Tony Morris didn't buy this stuff. I think Tony Morris did not buy this stuff.
Yep.
And Tony Morris, being the lone holdout, none of these new teachings could pass. None of them. Now, there's also another rule that they have, and that is how to remove a governing body. To remove a governing body, it just takes the majority of everybody agreeing, we got to get rid of Tony. And Tony had to go. And of course, the Watchtower did not want to make the same mistake they made with Ray Franz. They gave Ray Franz, after 40 years, they gave that man $10,000 chicken feed. And that's why Ray Franz had to go out and get a job and work for the guy down in Georgia. When this guy left, when Morris left, they gave him the ultimate hookup. That is the ultimate NDA, the ultimate NDA. And so once Morris was gone and they brought these new guys on, as we have all seen, they are literally rubber stamping new teachings every other month because now they can get it passed. And so, yes, I firmly believe that because I know when I was at Bethel, I know you will often hear of two different factions. There was one group that followed a guy, we used to call him the general. Oh man, I can't think of this. But they had different factions, and you knew they really didn't get along. There was a couple of governing body members, they never really got along, and they would get people to vote. And when I finally read Ray Franz's book, I saw that yes, they had factions on the governing body. So it's
I want to give a special shout out. Can we give a quick shout out to our friend Todd Hayes? We love you, Todd.
Yeah, we have to get Todd on. We're gonna have to do the
All
interview.
right, we love you, Todd. Yeah. Todd is our brother from another mother.
That's it. That's it.
He is a special friend of ours. So yeah, Todd, we want to thank you so much. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I'll give a special shout out to my buddy Todd.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for those wonderful comments.
Everything's going well for you, Todd.
Yeah. Todd, Todd represents Detroit.
Yeah, Todd's our brother from Detroit.
He's representing Detroit.
We still wait for him to come and visit so we can show him around town.
We can show him around.
But yeah, he's our special friend, Todd Hayes.
Yeah. But I tell you, I thank everybody. Lady C and I, we thank both of you guys for participating with us tonight. And we thank all the people who were in the audience for participating as well. And the super chats for helping out with supporting the channel. Like I said, everybody, you can literally clap for yourself because all of us, not individually, but all of us together. I like the way Lucille made it. We have made a tremendous. We are like, when I think of the ex-Jehovah's Witness community, I think of when I was growing up in North Carolina going fishing, and you had nets. And that's the way the ex-Jehovah's Witness community is. You know, we don't have no money. We all broke and everything. Watchtower is a $1 billion corporation. But isn't it interesting that when the notes or the transcript about this video was released, Watchtower lawyers went into overtime. From what I understand, they was able to get Reddit to pull some stuff down off the board. The transcript, they was able to, And of course, we laughed at it because like, well, y'all gonna release it tomorrow. And when you think about it, it's really sad that how is it that apostates are getting the new light before the Jehovah's Witnesses?
I mean, they got to they put it back up, but
it's back up.
They put it for 24 hours. They got it down.
Yeah. So
that makes that shows you that they are looking in.
Yes, they are. Yeah. And so you know,
shut everybody. Are you talking about them trying to shut them down?
Yeah.
They took down the leak from Reddit. They took it down, but the next day it was back up because he didn't break any rules. But it looks like Reddit, while they were investigating, it was down for 24 hours at least.
Oh yeah, they watch and we tell people who do video channels, you need to be aware of it. Some of you may remember the Bethelite Warwick Bethelite. Lady C and I, we had an opportunity. We talked to that guy, probably 2 or 3 hours. and he's over in Africa. I thought he was here in the United States because it said Warwick Bethelite. Turns out he's overseas. But we had the opportunity to talk to him extensively, and he said, be very, very careful because the problems he had ran into about using copyrighted material from the Watchtower. They have people, there are Bethelites who are assigned to watch these channels. And these guys, from what I understand, they feel very good because the way they do it at Bethel is really, it's really cool the way they do it. They will approach you and let you know that you're working on a special governing body project. And so you already feel special. Is it for the governing body? Yes, for the governing body. You can't tell anyone. When I was at Bethel, where you couldn't tell what the new releases were, even though you worked in the printing and stuff, you would actually get kicked out of Bethel if you told somebody what the new summer release was. And I've seen that guys have gotten kicked out of Bethel for telling their roommates because their roommates turned around and turned them in. Go figure, okay? Roommate, brother, he told me yesterday what the new release was. And so they bring him to the Bethel office and he's on the next boat, go selling over to China. They don't play. And so these guys are given these assignments and they literally feel, because they tell them, they explain to them, you're going to be Jehovah's agent. You're going up against Satan's representatives. And so that they're sitting at Bethel watching the videos and everything. And that's what they do. That's what they do. And so if they see something from the Watchtower that you got on your channel, man, they writing it down and it goes straight over to legal and somebody in legal types it up. And next thing you know, the guys over at Reddick and YouTube getting a legal document saying you need to pull this down on channel so-and-so. So the ExJW community needs to be careful because Watchtower is not playing. They don't play. And so we try to be very careful. We try to be very careful ourselves with that.
It's going to be easier with AI also.
Yeah.
With AI, I believe I already heard that there are programs that search for copyright, whatever, for artists. So all the Watchtower has to do is implement that.
Yes.
And,
what were you saying? Yeah. What were you saying, Lady Z?
I wanted to make a really quick comment about the Hospital Liaison Committee.
Oh, yeah.
And how whenever you're in the hospital and they're checking to see who's a Jehovah's Witness. So like what happens if, you go into the hospital and they're seeing a Jehovah's Witness receiving a blood transfusion, then that happens to be their blood.
mm-hmm.
How would that go down?
They probably wouldn't see it. They probably wouldn't be back in the back, I guess. But yeah, that is a good question.
Those are the kind of things you got to think about. I was just I wanted to bring, because I think we had mentioned that we were going to talk about some of that hospital.
You can reverse it as well. Every time someone come in, you say, "That's my blood, brother. That's mine." So you would never get in any trouble. So it could be people use it against them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then that could be a way that people could get an out to get the blood. Then if they talk to the hospital, if they talk to the hospital, let the hospital know that if a Jehovah's Witness comes in, then they can let them know that that's their blood. You know what I mean? At that point, they can skirt around that real nice. You know?
We do know like the doctor told us, when the witnesses leave, many times the person will be like, "I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it." And we've interviewed people on our channel who were like, as soon as the brothers walked out, I was like, "Get the bag, hang the bag, hang the bag."
Yeah.
So
that might be something we could put that little bug in their ear, that they can take the blood anyway.
Yeah. Well, guys, thanks for everything. Y'all guys have a great week, and we will be back again. And in the meantime, hang tight, and we will watch to see what crazy stuff the Watchtower continues to do, because it will never stop. I just don't believe it's going to ever stop.
Not only that, and you all, thank you for saving our seat, because we know we ain't been out here in a minute, but we had to take a break. Yeah. So thank y'all for being here, saving the seat for Creative Studio. That's my other channel. Critical Thinkers. Thanks for being out here for Critical Thinkers. I got too many things. I'm working on too many projects, y'all. Anyway, we appreciate y'all.
Life is good. Thank you so much. Hey, man, y'all guys take care. Tell the family.
Hey, Willie B.
Hello. All right. Take care. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks a bunch. We'll see ya. All right, y'all stay here for a sec.
Yeah, we'll cut y'all feed off. Hold on.